Well, hello once again, fellow adventure party. Welcome back to the Backyard Tabletop. My name is Jacob, and I'm here with a good friend of mine.
Yeah, that's me. That is me, right?
Yes.
That's me. I'm Kurtis.
I feel like we've done this before, and I think every time I just have to remind you, and I'm okay with it. I'm
That's
okay
fine.
with reminding you that I'm talking to you.
I'm a little needy sometimes.
Yeah, we all need a little bit of encouragement, and just to make sure that we're all on the same page too. How you been, Kurtis? How you been since the last time we talked?
Yeah, pretty good. I'm older since the last time we talked.
Yeah, I was gonna mention it, and it was Kurtis's birthday a few days ago.
Uh-huh. I am years old.
Should I now? Okay, you have to tell me. Should I bleep that? Should I add my own in thing? Is it like a dealer's choice here?
If you could actually get the Master Chief AI voice generator to put my age in there, that'd be great.
Oh man, if you could do that for me, I can pop that right in.
I'm absolutely kidding. I don't even know where to start with that.
I don't even know, dude. I love those AI things. I don't know why.
So funny.
There are some really funny ones of like the three last presidents and what Ben
Shapiro and now they've got the Queen and
I've seen the Queen. Yeah.
Who's the British guy who does all the talking for like Planet Earth and stuff like that?
Oh no,
they've got him in there too, David Attenborough.
Oh, that's amazing. Yeah,
that's so funny.
Those are kind of been a little bit of a pastime. Anytime I see one pop up, it's oddly wholesome too. Sometimes the ones that are like,
yeah, the Dagoth with his crew are like the best ones with like Master Chief.
Yeah,
and
it's so good.
Yeah,
I'm really trying to convince Dip next campaign. I'm going to be a warlock, and Dagoth will be my patron.
That's perfect. That's great.
Do you think we could do it? I think he would be all for it.
Figure it out. Yeah, for sure.
Oh, that's great. Oh man, well, it's so good to be back. Thank you all for joining us yet again. Today we're going to be talking about the D&D movie, Dungeons and Dragons: Honor Amongst Thieves. We're going to get our very, very official review today.
I got to correct you. It is not Honor Amongst Thieves. It's Honor Among Thieves.
Thieves.
There's a difference.
It's just angsty over here, adding multiple amongs.
Yeah, because the thing is, in the movie that's like from 2002 that looks like it was made in the 80s, he says Honor Amongst Thieves like 6 times.
Oh,
and so it's a reference to that.
Oh, I see. Okay.
I think it was a reference.
I see. Oh, it could be. It could be. I have you seen this would be hilarious if actually we just came in and just nonchalantly just thought it was that movie.
Just did that movie and said like, yeah, the effects were kind of dated, but the story was okay.
It's okay.
They didn't really stick to the source material.
I literally just saw it last week. Last Wednesday, so it would like 5 days ago for me, and you saw it like on opening weekend.
Yeah, I saw it on the Saturday after it came out.
I'm going to say right off the bat, for those of you that are listening or watching, spoilers from here on out. This this is the critical role thing. Right off the bat, spoilers. Kurtis and I are not going to hold back. We had both seen the movie, and we're going to just talk about what we loved about it, the little references, anything that we can really remember. We're not as organized to be like, for the first 10 minutes, we're going to have a spoiler free, and then later we'll have all spoilers. Nope, this is just going to be all spoilers.
Beware of spoilers until this time, and Jake will put some.
Yeah, future Jake shall do it. Hopefully, we'll put a little timestamp. If you just want to skip to the story, you are welcome to do that. And then when you see the movie, come back and rewatch this to hear our thoughts. We would love to hear your thoughts. If you saw the D&D movie, please let us know down in the comments to so we can be like, yeah, give you a thumbs up on the like and stuff, you know?
Yeah. So, Jake, what did you think?
Oh my gosh. So right off the bat, fantastic movie to go see with your D&D buddies. I went to go see it with my wife, and we had a joyous time. There were so many laughs, and legitimately, like, so right off the bat with a huge spoiler, legitimately, my favorite part was at the very end when they revived the barbarian.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So
yeah, it was real good.
And there was nothing about that scene that was like, because it's not like I had forgotten about they had this wish to be able to bring someone back. It was just a legit moment of him just realizing, no, I bringing back the wife would not be bringing back her mother, right? And it was just really brought that moment. So it's like that probably was my favorite moment. They really used flashbacks really well. And then seeing those kind of really cool built-up moments of her being the mom and it was just great. This cast was incredible. I adored this cast. They all had amazing chemistry together. Yeah, I don't know. That's my favorite scene right off the bat, but it was
really good because, you know, it was, this movie in general is about found family. Like, that's what the movie is about.
Yeah.
It's about the people that are close that aren't blood, but become closer than that. And that's what D&D is about. That's what an adventuring party is. It's about these people who come together for a greater goal and become close. You know, they become these families in and of themselves in their adventuring parties. And so I think it was perfect because, just like you said, it was like he recognized basically that I've lied to myself saying that I'm bringing back this woman because it's my daughter's mother. But my daughter never even knew her. I'm only bringing her back for me because I miss her.
Yeah.
And then he gets this vision of, no, actually, I need to let her go. And my daughter's actual mother, the person that actually raised her, is right here in front of me. And that's what's important.
It was a really cool moment as okay. By far, also my favorite was the paladin. He was great. He even said that one point, like, you realize if you bring her back, you could be taking her away from the life she is now living in the afterlife. Because as we all know, D&D has multiple planes of existence. It's pretty common fact that you go to something beyond and live that out. Yeah. So it was cool to also hear him say that as well. That's like, hey, you know, she's off doing her own thing now. Who knows what that's all about?
For a long time. You need to move on.
Yeah. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. Absolute favorite scene. They did such a good job. But then also jumping back to the very beginning of the movie, setting that up was fantastic. Of him just going into his whole backstory and then waiting for.
It was exactly how a D&D campaign starts. It goes, okay, you come in and you see this person, and then that person goes, yes, I am a human bard, and here is my backstory.
Yeah, it's like every first time player of D&D is like, yes, here is all of my backstory.
Yeah, it's so good.
But they did it in such a fun way. Also, him just waiting for the Aarakocra, and then finally getting the Aarakocra and jumping out the window with the guy calling out, we pardoned you.
We accepted your pardon.
That moment, and that moment, I could just see, like, at the end of that session of D&D, the Dungeon Master just looking at everyone going, like, you realize they would have accepted you. It's like that was a moment where the Dungeon Master was like, guys.
Well, now everything's a lot more exciting. Charnathan was the best character. Obviously,
was the best.
Charnathan. Yeah. They just had to make it just a little weird.
right. It's like I also saw on Twitter someone saying, like, Charnathan was also, we all know it was the Dungeon Master going like, oh God, I didn't name this character. Like,
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I gotta say, the practical effects in this movie were fantastic. All of the creature races were really good.
Yeah, like I squealed in the theater when I saw the Dragonborn, like one
Yeah.
of the first creatures,
Yeah.
which was just like, oh god, it's the Dragonborn! It's a
Yeah.
black Dragonborn! I loved that. I think they blended practical with
Yes.
CG
Yeah,
pretty well.
They blended it really well.
The halflings were a little wonky
Yeah.
to me.
It was just a little. It was just a mini person. That's not what
kinda
I think
shrunk
of when
him
I think
down.
of halfling. You know, I
Right.
think Hobbit, which is not really just a mini person, but their dimensions are a little different.
Right. You're right. And so I could see them definitely going that round of like, well, we can't just do what Lord of the Rings did because
Yeah.
we have to be different. But I'm almost kind of wishing they kind of did go the Lord of the Rings route because
Yeah.
I mean, it was awesome to see Bradley Cooper play a halfling.
I kind of
but-
feel like they probably blended the two a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. My guess is they used shots a little differently, and
yeah.
probably had a little person come in to hold her hand at the end when he grabs her
Right.
hand, you know, or a kid or something.
But I think that was the only thing practically. The some of the monsters were just really fun. Seeing the panther. You mentioned you loved the effects of the panther. The I'm
Displacer
blanking
Beast?
on the name. The Displacer Beast. That's it.
Yeah.
I can't believe I forgot that name. Of it just actually being two.
Well, because that's technically how it works. Like, displacer beasts are constantly providing a false image of themselves that you're focused on, while
Right.
the real version
Right.
is sneaking around you. And I just loved the way they made it like almost like a little projection from its tentacles. And I'm not sure if that's real lore, that it's written that way, but it was really cool and definitely how I'm going to describe it from now on.
Yeah, I think that's great because I remember for me, I always kind of thought of it like the blur spell. So where that
Yeah.
one's like where it's like they're kind of phasing in and out type of thing. So this was a little bit different for me. It's like a projection that it's going to try and confuse its adversary, which is just fun and different. I thought that was cool. Seeing the gelatinous cube was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man. I know it's a meme on the internet. Everyone wants as many wild shapes as that druid, but I did love all the effects.
I'm like,
of
this
her
is a
changing.
level 20 druid, I guess. Like, dang, it's like 12 wild shapes in one day already.
Yeah, it's like all right, and it's like it's one of those things where you were watching it like she could have just turned into stayed as a fly, if she got further enough, or just stayed as a hawk, but.
Yeah, but the sequence was much cooler.
Yeah.
Rule of cool, Jake. Rule of cool.
Rule of cool, by all means. And then I loved how all the actors were, like, they fit their role of the party. They never were trying to be what they weren't. And even, like, randomly the barbarian getting the plan was really, like, very D&D. Like, it was cool to also see, like the barbarian had the best wit, in my opinion. The dry, like the bard and the barbarian, I think, had just amazing chemistry.
The funniest moments in the movie to me were with the paladin. Everybody else just making fun of how absolutely not there the paladin is the whole time, like too serious the paladin is the whole time, is what really got me every time. Was the scene of the paladin the scene of the paladin walking away, and Chris Pine's like,
yes
where's he even going? I don't think you can even go anywhere that way. What's over there? Oh, he's just walking in a straight line. Well, he's got to turn at some point. He's coming to a rock. What do you think he's going to do at the rock?
Coming up to a rock.
He just hopped right over the rock. Okay. All right. So I actually just read an article in an interview where they said that was all, they figured that out on the day. Like, it was not in the script. Like, in the
That's
script,
so
he just
great.
walks off scene one direction, and they just watch him go and go, well, anyway, and like keep doing their own thing. But instead, on the day, he was like, we're going to hang a little longer on you walking away just because you're walking so confidently. It just looks kind of cool. And so he's walking and he's got his line and it's heading right to a boulder. And I guess Chris was just like doing his little commentary to the other characters like as he was walking just the whole time. And they were like, let's do it again and let's actually do that because that was great. Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
My favorite thing is the paladin because the actor apparently has played D&D a decent amount, and his whole thing was like, I feel like my character is like a show of the dangers of min-maxing.
Oh, that's amazing.
Like if you make a character that's just too good at everything, you got to get rid of him at some point because he just doesn't fit the story, right? Like if there's this character who's perfect at everything along with all these little ne'er-do-wells who screw everything up all the time, there's a disconnect there. So it was like his whole thing was like my paladin is what happens when you min-max.
Oh, that's really fun. That's amazing. You see, and Sarah and I were talking about that. We thought it was actually a really kind of almost a lesson on how to use a higher NPC to like get the party on their way of a new adventure.
Yeah.
If that makes you don't keep them around. They're there to kind of give them the tools and then send the party off to go fulfill their destiny or their journey or their adventure.
Too, for sure.
They're, because he totally could have gone with them and, probably showed the wizard what's up. But that's not what his role was. His role was to give them the tools they need, which was, I think, a great thing as a dungeon master, which I think when it all comes down to it, my favorite part about this movie was you could see the dungeon master almost at every turn.
Yeah.
The whole grave scene, you could just tell the dungeon master was just having fun with the party. And just the yes. I think in the credits, he was titled the Yes Corpse.
Yes. 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 That's so good.
So good.
Yeah.
But you could just see the dungeon master, even with the whole thing of like her being able to shift into an owlbear. It's probably the dungeon master doing a rule of cool. Like, you could change to a owlbear, sure.
Technically, I don't know if you saw this, but technically now, in the redone druid that actually came out right before the movie came out in 1D&D, the playtest for druid. Technically would actually be able to wild shape into an owlbear at some point because they switched it from being just beasts to basically anything of a CR at this level that's not undead or these other things. So technically an owlbear would be possible to wild shape into according to the new 1D&D rules.
I think, and I've also heard it explained, it depends on the type of lore you use, because I think in some settings the owlbear could technically be a beast, and in other settings it's a monstrosity. Yeah. I don't know. I'm glad that they are doing that because next it's like I want to play a druid that can wild shape into a mimic. That's all I want.
That would be awesome.
Just be the fighter's mimic sword. Yeah.
Overall, really good movie, super fun romp. Just even if you don't know anything about D&D, it's just a fun fantasy adventure movie. It's great. It's really good.
And they really rode that line really well of not needing to know D&D. Just a great almost intro. It's like the nerds that are gonna get it, but not everyone needs to in order to laugh.
And you can't go in being super serious, like, oh, that's not how Meteor Swarm works. Like, who cares? They're making a movie, not trying to make a game that you watch. Like, this isn't, go watch your podcast if that's what you want. Like, no, this is, they're still trying to, I was surprised how actually faithful they did remain to the source material. Like, every spell that was cast, I was like, oh, I know what that is. Like, I can
Yeah.
tell that was a real spell. Like, they actually did their homework and were like, okay, here's reverse gravity, here's finger of death, here's meteor swarm, here's gust.
The Big B's hand battle
hand
was
versus,
really fun.
Well, I think one was Big B's hand and one was Earthen Grasp.
Oh, you might be right. Yeah.
I think hers was
fun.
Big B's hand. But yeah, still, like, you can tell, like, the fact that I can even say that shows that they were doing
Right.
their homework and actually trying to portray them correctly.
I think you're right in that. It also makes sure it's still entertaining, and somewhat makes sense because how exactly do you even go into the whole thing of like, the druid being like, I'm out of spell slots for today. Sorry, I can't do this, or I'm out of wild shapes. It's kind of like,
yeah, exactly.
What does that even mean? You know what I'm saying? And so
definitely think that something they decided on was, instead of making the characters' limits these things that are just written rules that don't actually make any sense for real life, instead, let's make their limits just their knowledge and their ability to do these things and what they know and what they understand. Like,
right.
The mage was the sorcerer was casting spells that, according to his life experience, he should never have been able to cast.
Right.
But they were using wild magic to kind of throw stuff in there and be like, well, with this, he can kind of cast anything, but he never really knows what's going to happen,
Mm-hmm. And even the fact the bard didn't really cast magic. It was all the sorcerer. The bard was just kind of there to, be a distraction or make the plan.
His magic was literally his word. Like,
right. Also, I walked out of that theater. I was like, I want a lute like his, because he was smashing people with it. And I don't know if have you looked up the character stats from the movie? Like D&D Beyond, like released the characters.
Yeah.
I went and looked him up. His lute, it's called a reinforced lute. It does like 1d8 bludgeoning damage and 2d10 thunder damage or something like that.
That's so cool.
I was like, that's amazing. I was like, I want that loot.
That's great.
It's like, so yeah, I'm with you. They did a great job of balancing that line. I think that's also a great point that you said. It's like, if you want realistic D&D, go watch a live stream. You know, like that's a great go Critical Role. All these Tabletop Notch, Dungeon Dudes. There's a bunch of people that are playing the game that are doing a great job with the rules that are entertaining. The movie isn't supposed to be sitting around the table. It's supposed to kind of be like a movie.
Yeah, exactly.
And have some wonderful little nods, and then you can also make fun of it, of like, why do you only get to ask five questions? Like,
they're trying to make the Forgotten Realms come to life, not make the game D&D come to life, if that makes sense. They're bringing the world to life, not the game to life.
Exactly, which I thought they did a great job. Also, seeing Sazdan Tan was really cool. I think I pronounced that right. The leader of the Fae, Sazdan Tan,
Fae?
I think he was.
The red wizard. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Faian wizard guy.
That was really cool. Which was kind of funny because I didn't know much about him. I actually learned about him through Baldur's Gate 3 early access. There's a whole thing in Baldur's Gate 3 that has him. And so when I heard he was in the movie, I thought that was really kind of cool because I read about him the other day before the movie.
The thing that was crazy to me was seeing Lord Neverember.
Oh, yeah.
Because I've been Lord Neverember. Like, I've roleplayed Lord Neverember. So I was like, whoa, that's cool. That's awesome. Like, I get it.
That's such a good point. That's such a good point.
He was a pretty heavy influence in one of the characters' backstories in one of the games we played. So
yeah, that's so good.
Yeah, it was really interesting seeing that.
Before we completely wrap up this segment, did you have anything that you didn't necessarily like about the movie that you were walking away like, that was a little bit off, or whatever?
Oh man, that's a hard question. Do you have one in mind?
Yeah, I do. I think, and I'm just curious what you might think of it. That the one thing that I think that I walked away kind of like, and I think I understand why, they were doing it, and I think I'll explain that after. I thought there was a little bit too much solo fights, where there was the moment where the barbarian was like, "You go off, sorcerer, and go do the thing, and I'll beat the crap out of these 10 dudes," right?
Yeah.
Which works, and I think it works for a movie. I think I would have liked a little bit more, like even like it was a dope scene. Don't get me wrong, when the paladin was just killed a bunch of the Fae that were, the Thay that the Theathasins. The Theathasins. The paladin just mopped the floor with all of them, and they were just kind of watching. You know, I think there was a little bit too much of that for me. I think I would have liked to have seen a little bit more group fights, and even kind of doing along the lines of like them learning. It's like, you know, at the beginning of the movie, maybe they're not driving too well. It makes sense for the barbarian and the bard to be driving because they've been partners for a long time. But then when the druid enters the mix, she's kind of soloing, and you know, slowly they have to learn how to work together. If that makes sense.
I understand where you're coming from. I think from like a D&D perspective, I totally understand. It's like if one person in the party ever went and tried to do something on their own, it's gonna go terribly. But from a movie standpoint, I think what they were trying to do was give everyone a spotlight on their skills, and then at the very end, everything came together for like the last fight, if that makes sense. So I get where you're coming from, but I think it played its purpose. I think there was a point to it.
It definitely played its purpose, for sure. That was, I think, the one thing that I just remember missing. It's like, because I loved that end fight with the wizard, seeing like the shenanigans that were going on, like when the bard got like the rope wrapped around his feet and got pulled away because of something that he did, right?
Yeah.
So it's like the fun shenanigans. I think they could have played a little bit more with that in some other fights, but going with what you said, it does make sense that they're kind of were using it to give spotlights. You know, for example, the barbarian telling the sorcerer, "Hey, go! I'll take this damage in a roundabout way. I'll take these guys on. You go do what you need to do," type of thing. Yeah, because that's what barbarians do, right?
It was like you don't waste any spell slots here. I'll take these guys out. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's 4 bandits and we're level 12. Like, don't worry, I got this. Kind of a thing, you know what I mean?
Right. Which would be really fun to do, not gonna lie.
Yeah, so if I had to pick one thing that irked me about it, it would be the dragon.
Oh, the cute chubby dragon.
The chubby dragon. I understand that it was played for laughs and that the point of it was to like subvert expectations, because it's a Dungeons and Dragons movie. You gotta have a dragon.
Right.
But the dragon is like underwhelming, and that's my problem. Is it was like, if you're gonna put a dragon in a Dungeons and Dragons movie, it should be terrifying. Like, make it a real dragon.
I see what you're saying.
Don't play it for laughs. Like, because when you run into a dragon in the game, you're not laughing. Like, you know what I mean? So, like, that was the one thing that bugged me a little bit. It was like, the namesake for the game, they played for laughs. And it just kind of bugged me a little bit.
Okay. No, that makes sense. Now,
it was fun. Don't get me wrong. It was funny. It was hilarious.
Sarah would probably fight you on that because she absolutely adored that dragon and wants a plushie of that dragon.
It was hilarious and pretty awesome, but would have been a much cooler sequence in my mind if it was like a legit red dragon that they were running for their lives from.
I see where you're going with, for sure, because I think, man, because there really is something about fighting dragons in Dungeons and Dragons.
It's what it's about.
It's iconic, and they are very difficult to slay a dragon means. At least when we've kind of fought them, it really does mean something. It's really awesome and exciting. So when you see one that's kind of like, oh, what a cute boy, as he like just rolls down the
That's one pudgy dragon.
And trying to fly and
Okay. Yeah.
Well, I hope you all enjoyed our ramblings of the movie. Bottom line, I would give the movie a solid 8 out of 10 for sure. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was very fun. Great popcorn flick. And just going to see with the buds is, and family members, it's great.
It's like an 8.5 to a 9, in my opinion. I thought it was really, really good. It's really fun. Don't come into it expecting a heady, interesting movie. Like,
right.
That's not what any of the commercials have been about. It's not what any of it's been about. It's like, no, right. It's a fun D&D fantasy romp, and it's gonna be fun. And oh my God, I haven't laughed that hard at a movie in a long time.
I would agree. I hadn't laughed that long.
It's very
there's
funny.
There's even almost a part of me that I wish I didn't see the graveyard scene before the movie.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that would have hit even harder. Yeah. But regardless, I was...
Yeah, because there was more that they didn't show in the previews that really did. Right. Like, they straight up dig up like 12 graves.
Yeah.
Because they keep
and one of them falls
and
hits his head on getting out of the bath. Like...
Yep.
So great.
Yeah, so it was very
Again, the Dungeon Master was just all over that scene of just messing with the party.
The post-credit scene of the guy still sitting there who has one question left, who can't die. It's fantastic. Really good.
Like, anyone got a question? That part, I was like, oh man, that would be an amazing random encounter. That your party is just like walking past a graveyard and you're explaining the atmosphere and you hear these sounds like someone talking. Like,
hello?
Oh, would someone
ask
please
me a
ask me a
question, please?
So random, and I would love that. I might do that one day in the future, just for a callback. Well, thank you so much for listening to us, everyone.
Spoilers over.
Spoilers are now over, but now spoilers are going to be happening for Kurtis's campaign.
Truth.
We would love to hear what you thought about the movie if you did watch it down in the comments. And I try my best to comment or to see everyone's comments, and so I'm very appreciative of those. But we're gonna jump back into Kurtis's line of work. What Cal's been doing. So
last we left Cal, he had gone down into the deep down, and down into the crypts underneath the Gray in Corvosa. Him and his party had just gotten down there and had fought some things called Darrows, which are these...
I do remember those.
I've been corrected. They are not Fae. No, they are not undead. They are Fae, technically.
Ooh.
They are Darrows.
That kind of makes sense, especially with them like being able to erase the minds of people.
Like, they're Pathfinder's answer to like little green men, basically.
Yeah. That sounds like definitely some folklore stuff. I love that.
So we've fought some Darrows. We've climbed through their tunnels and made our way through while trying to find the various pieces of Tombstone, our barbarian's friend, who has apparently been cut up and dismembered to be used for various necromantic things.
Which is a little bit of he was the nephew of like the guy the first boss that you guys all fought.
Yes. No, not nephew. Like, we don't know for sure. As far as we understand, he's his son. He's a direct descendant.
Oh, that's right.
We don't know for sure, but yes, he is a lamb. And we all hate lambs. LAMM, not LAMB.
Oh dear.
Yeah, we've continued through here. Last we left off, we had just found his torso and arm that had been partially reinstituted and was slashing around. And when Cal tried to re-kill it, to undead it, he got yelled at and called racist, basically. Because he didn't care about Tombstone's culture.
And in return, you called him a racist. So.
Pretty much. Yeah, so after this, they fixed that issue by pushing positive energy into the undead corpse, which put it out of its misery. We picked that up. We rested here for a little while because this was kind of a quiet corner for us to rest in the crypts.
Okay.
And we got this piece of the corpse, which was the torso and a single arm. We had also gotten the legs, I believe, from the first room that we came in on.
Oh man, I didn't. This is just now clicking to me that you guys actually had to go find his pieces.
We had to go find all his. He had been dismembered. It was like torso and arm. Head was separate. Other arm was separate, and waist down was separate.
Wow, I don't know why that's just now clicking for me because I'm just like,
and pretty much the only way we're recognizing it is by the tattoos, which are like common Shanti tattoos,
right?
That Tombstone is recognizing pretty much on him.
Okay.
So we now have the torso and arm. In a previous room that I think I kind of breezed over because I wanted to get to that point before we ended. In a previous room, we found his head, but I believe it was attached to a flesh golem that we had to fight and destroy. And then he was able to get the head of his friend. We found the legs in the first room. There was like a pile of flesh there, I think, that we found them in. So we continued from there. And after our rest and everything, we went to another room where we actually found prisoners. And holding them was in any case, doesn't matter that much. It was big and mean, and we fought it, and it was bad. But so we killed it, saved the prisoners, and then after that we went to another room that had an otyug in it, which if you don't know, otyugs are these creatures that they're really, really weird looking. They look almost like they're like a rhino's torso with 4 legs, but then they have just a big mouth on the front, and then they have 3 little tentacle stalks. They have one on the back that's up, and it has like a bunch of compound eyes on it that looks over the whole thing. And then they have 2 on either side that have like spikes that they use to like grab things and eat them. And otyugs, I think you would know what it is as soon as I showed you a picture because they're a pretty common D&D creature as well. But they consume filth. They live in and consume filth. Think the creature at the bottom of the trash compactor in Star Wars.
Right. Or like the suckerfish or something like that.
Yeah, pretty much that. They consume waste, and they communicate through scent. And apparently, so something Dip said was like, he was like, everyone just roll like a history check for me or something, or something like that. And apparently Cal has studied otyugs enough to understand what the scents mean. So every time we're fighting one, Dip says it smells like this, and I have to go look at a table and go, oh, okay, he's scared. Or Dip says he smells like this, and I look and he says, stay away, bad food. And I'm like, oh, wow, that's really sad, actually. When we're killing it.
Oh my gosh.
But anyway...
Pathfinder sometimes, man.
Yeah,
oh my gosh.
So this otyug lives down here in this room where they dump all of the corpses and body parts that they don't need. So it's just a big pile of flesh and bones and waste that this thing is munching on. And we kind of peek around it and we see the last piece we need, one of the arms sticking out of it. So we have to go in and fight this otyug. And like 80% of the room is like difficult terrain because it's just sludge of like mud and flesh and viscera.
Ugh.
But we fight this otyug, we get the last piece, and we explore around a little more, but we're like, there's nowhere else to go in here. And we come to the conclusion that Lamb is not here.
Oh,
The necromancer is not here. So we have to leave without finding him. We decide, okay, we've gotten what we actually came for. We have the body and all of its pieces. We can leave understanding that
A little bit of a reoccurring villain.
yeah,
I mean, well, he hasn't
something,
occurred yet.
like he's still
his
out
name
there.
has just come
Yeah.
up, but
Yeah.
you know, I will say that's cool that the adventure has veered an expectation. You know, you expect to go in and just, you know, fight the boss and then move on. You know,
Yeah.
but you know they might be, I think, definitely saving him for later.
The worst
Right?
fetch quest
And-
ever.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Ugh. It's like collecting the body parts of a dude. Oh my gosh. But then also at the same time, it bringing back an old villain to fight again, in a zombie form.
Yeah, we fought
And
the
then-
zombie lamb. Yeah.
And then, I think even from a dungeon master's perspective, I think I would like to. It's like if I made this cool necromancer, I think I would like to wait till the party was a little bit higher level to
Yeah.
fight him. You know, that makes sense.
Yeah, and it makes
I don't know.
sense. Like when I'm thinking about it, the way this character's been built up, like they may have been a serial killer at one point that ravaged the city for years. And now there's some kind of crazy necromancer that has these darrows at his whim. And I'm like, okay, maybe this guy's a little bigger than we could have even taken on anyway. So maybe it's better that we didn't fight him.
I will say, do you have any, or ask this, do you have any conspiracy theories? Do you think he's working for the queen, or do you think he's working for someone, or do you think he's just kind of a third party that might?
I think he's a wild card. I think the point of him is to give us something to be distracted about, not
Okay.
not at the behest of the queen or anything, but just story wise, if that makes sense.
Interesting. Okay.
Like if all this crazy stuff's going on in the city with the queen and the girl being captured and all of that kind of stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and then someone's like, oh, also go to these ruins and kill this necromancer for us, like, no, that doesn't seem very important right now compared to what else is going on, you know. But when they say
Right.
it's Gadrin Lamb's son and also they have the body parts of your best friend, oh, okay, yeah, maybe we'll go. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
yeah, no, that
it just
makes
kind
sense.
of makes sense.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
In any case, we finish, we get all the body parts, and we leave, along with these prisoners that are coming with us. So we did save a few lives down there too, which is really nice. We took these people back out, and we took them to the Temple of Desna.
Nice.
And basically said, you're good here, they'll take care of you, let them know that we sent you. Our bard gave them the map that he had been drawing the whole time we were down there to give to them because they had asked for a map.
Oh yeah,
And
that's really cool.
He did a pretty good job. He rolled pretty well on that. And Cal basically gave them no, he actually gave them a platinum piece each.
Oh wow. Okay.
Basically to say, like, if any of you need healing, this should cover that from the temple and be enough to, like, get you on your feet and be good to go.
Generous. Okay.
He looks out for the little guy.
Yeah, that's kind of cool. You know, and it's cool to have those moments with your character, because even though you have said Cal has definitely his issues, he still cares. He's not inhuman.
And this is something that's actually happened a few times now, because if you remember when we were in the fishery at the very, very, very beginning, and there were all these like child laborers there, when we saved them, Cal grabbed one of them and was like, here's a handful of gold, share it with everyone, and, you know, all of you get back on your feet and get something to eat.
Yeah.
But all of these things he's done, like, privately, which is really fun for me, because it's like the players understand what he's doing, but there's a disconnect there because the characters don't necessarily understand. And like, so this time our bard kind of caught a glimpse that I was handing them money, but not how much. Like, that was like 6 platinum I just handed over, which is a lot of money to us at this point.
60 gold.
Yeah.
Right.
But nobody knows that I actually spent that much. So I think that's really fun. Not in a way that's like, ooh, nobody knows what I'm doing, but just in a way that's like, I don't know, it's just interesting because I'm doing these things that, you know, Cal has a persona that is being shown to the rest of the characters.
Yeah.
But I'm doing things that don't necessarily fit that persona behind the scenes. And so it leaves the players to guess, wow, what's going on there? That's really weird and interesting. That's kind of cool. And it adds depth to the character. Yeah.
Adds depth. Very big. Yeah. And I think it's important to note, not just to be different, but for reasons that you have in mind.
Well, and there's definitive reasons. Like he really does. His goal is to look out for the little guy in the city, the people that get trampled on. Like that's his whole deal. And so that's the only way he knows how to do it right now is we save these people. Neat. They're gonna struggle on the road. So I'll give them some gold, help them how I can.
And then high five. Okay.
So anyway, we moved on from there. We went back and reported what we found and the body and everything. The body was given back to the Shuanti people, and Tombstone kind of went and did that on his own. He requested to take it back on his own, and we accepted that.
Okay.
While he was doing that, the rest of us went and talked to Cressida Croft, who kind of gave us this job in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Told her what we found, told her that we couldn't find the guy. And she goes, it's fine. She seems super distracted. And at this point, she calls us all in, and she's like, okay, there's nobody else in this room at this point, which is kind of unusual. Most of the time we talk to her, there's a few other guard captains around, like, looking at maps and handing out orders and stuff like that. At this point, there's like nobody else there.
Okay.
And she calls us in and basically says, Trinia, who is the girl we went to find, who has been blamed for killing and poisoning the king. Trinia, after being captured, they did an internal investigation in the palace. I was almost entirely kept out of it. I had no say in what was done.
Oh, dear.
Was not able to submit my evidence, all that kind of stuff. And they came to the conclusion that she did it, and they're going to execute her tomorrow.
Oh, dear.
And she was like,
oh, wow. This is, oh, man, she was completely kept out of it, too.
Not to the point of like not being able to be present. Like she went to the castle and talked to them, but by the time, from what I get, and this might be wrong, but from what I gather, basically she went there and they were like, nope, we found what we need already. She's guilty. And she was just like, oh, so, okay, it's already done. I can't do anything about it. Like, kind of a thing.
Okay. The stamp has been approved.
Yeah, the stamp, the wax has been sealed. It's all done.
Yeah.
So she tells us, she goes, it's going to be a semi-public execution. It's going to happen in the temple courtyard. You have to have an invitation, or not temple, castle courtyard.
Oh, gotcha. Okay. I was going to be like, what's
going to be done? It's going to be done in the temple of Asmodeus, you know. No, it's going to be done in
Hell Knights are weird that way.
In the public castle courtyard, it's going to be done there, carried through there. It's semi-invitation only, so essentially it's like only certain people are allowed in, you know, some of the higher-ups, the noble families, that kind of thing, just so that there are witnesses to it.
Right.
And she's like, I'm going to be there. I want you to be there. But you're not technically supposed to be there, but I'm going to make you technically supposed to be there. So she basically gives us the go-ahead to, like, be there at this time. Don't draw attention. Come in separately. And just watch what happens. Don't do anything brash. Don't just try to save her life or anything, because her whole thing is like, I have to accept that they did an investigation and they found what they needed to find. Otherwise, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Like, yeah. I have to accept that the queen did her job, because if I don't think the queen is doing her job, then I don't work for anyone. Like, I'm just doing nothing. And she didn't say that, but it certainly felt that way.
Yeah, and I think it's also a point to know. It's like this is a military. This is a guard.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's the order of command, or the chain of the command.
And she's always been very like, no. I do what I do because it's right and it's for the city, not because some person in a crown tells me to.
Yeah.
But that person in a crown is lawfully above me, so I do have to still pay attention to that. I can't just straight up go against the queen. She's in charge. I have to do what she says. Because I am being lawful, like, yeah.
Right. And if they're in the wrong, it's on their head. Like
she's like the purest, lawful, neutral almost, like of all. Like, she doesn't have a personal code. She lives by the law of, I am the leader of the guard. The guard serves the queen and the city, and I'm balancing those two things.
That's great.
So
I like it.
Really cool character. Cressida's really cool. So she's like, I want you all to be there just to witness what happens, and also, if something happens, maybe you can keep a bunch of people from rioting and dying if something weird happens. Like,
yeah.
Her whole thing was like, just try to help if you can. Not help her, but just help the situation.
Help the people,
Yeah.
It's like the innocent people that could get trampled on.
She was in no way telling us, like, save her if you can. Tombstone met up with us after this, and we kind of let him know what happened, and he let us know what happened with his meeting. The body was taken. It's going to be given its rights and all of that kind of stuff. But he says, I won't be there.
Okay.
Because Thousand Bones and his Shanti people are leaving. They're leaving the city. They've given up.
Okay. Interesting.
It's not worth it to them anymore to stay here and try to make relations better with a city that's already in chaos. So they're leaving.
And now, is the queen doing anything to help? Or is this just the fact that there's just too much chaos? Now is not the time for peace talks.
No, the queen's not doing anything to help. And yeah, it was like their whole thing was like, too much has happened. Too many of our people die every day because things are too chaotic here. And nobody wants us here. The Hell Knights don't want us here. The Hell Knights hate us. It's not worth it for us to be here right now.
Okay.
So he's like, okay, so we're leaving. They're leaving the city. But Tombstone said, they're leaving, but I'm going to stay. And I'm going to stay with you guys. Not because I care about the city, not because I care about the people, but at least long enough to find and kill this necromancer.
Okay, so he has a vendetta now.
So he's got a reason to be here. We fill him in on what's going on with the execution. And then what Cal basically says is we all need to be on the same page here. Because if we all go in there and half of us are thinking we're there to save her and half of us are thinking she's getting what she deserves, then there's going to be a problem. So Cal's whole thing was like, we all agree we're going to make sure another riot doesn't break out, right? That's what we're there for. We're not there to save her. We're not there to kill the queen. We're not there to do any of that. We are simply there to observe what happens and make sure that we can help if something crazy goes on.
Okay.
And he was like, I understand some of you think she's wrongly up there. And, you know, his go-between was basically like, if a really, really, really good opportunity presents itself, let's take it. Sure, that's fine. But we're not running in there like vigilantes to pull her out of a guillotine. Like, that's not what we're doing here.
It's like, if we see the opportunity, then we can jump at it. But other than that, don't.
And so everyone agreed. Okay. Everyone was like, yep, you're right. Yeah, we need to be careful. You're right. And Elora, Joelle's character, my wife's character, was basically like, Yes, you're right. Yeah. Like she more than any of us is like, this girl does not deserve this, and it's going to be really hard for me to let her
Interesting.
die for this. But she's like, you're right. Yeah, that's fine. So I'm going to try and get to the end of this session because this is where book one ends. Okay. So we go and we kind of go separately. Kit and I go together. Tombstone goes on his own, and I think Elora and... No, it's me, Kit, and Squish, and I think Elora and Tombstone are kind of on their own, separately.
Okay. So you guys are kind of not splitting the party, but kind of going as
yeah, we're not arriving together.
Yeah, okay.
Everything is as it seems. The girl is there waiting to be beheaded, essentially. And when the time comes, the queen basically starts her speech, and she's basically like, good people of the city, this girl, like, I know you've been hurting. I also ache for the loss of my husband.
Classic.
This girl is the source of all of your pain and problems. If like the king is dead because of her.
Ooh.
And today justice will be served, all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
As she's finishing her speech,
oh no,
something happens.
Well, this wouldn't be a D&D game if something didn't happen.
a humanoid figure dressed in all black with a mask on his face, think Zorro, kind of.
Okay.
Leaps down
onto
the stage, pulls his rapier and basically says, I don't remember exactly what he said, but basically he was like, you're a false queen. This lady is innocent, and I'm going to save her. This is Blackjack. He is the widely popular and well-known vigilante of Corvosa.
Oh, okay. Okay, so it is like a Zorro type of story, legend.
It's like Zorro mixed with Batman, basically.
That's fun. Okay.
Mixed with Dread Pirate Roberts a little bit.
Okay.
Because he's this, like, everyone assumes he's human, but he's also been around for like a couple hundred years. So there's that. Okay,
so it really is kind of like a Sparrow type of thing, like or Zorro type of thing.
Yeah. So he leaps in, and throws a knife in the boot of the executioner so that he's distracted. Grabs the girl, basically says what he says, and then leaps off of the stage onto the wall, turns around and gives like a salute. And while all of this is happening, all of us jump into action because we're like, okay, well, it's happening, so this is our cue. Basically, Elora casts light on a gem and throws it so that it's like these beams of colorful gem light that are distracting on the stage.
Cool. That's kind of cool and different. I like that.
And the point of that was to kind of like blind people that were up on the stage to keep them from getting Blackjack. Meanwhile,
almost like a cantrip color spray, basically.
Yes, kind of. Yeah.
That's kind of fun.
Meanwhile, this shows you the difference between Elora and Cal.
Fireball.
Because what Cal does is he casts.
just the okay.
He casts catapult on the knife.
This one
that landed in the guy's boot and sends it up into his throat.
Oh.
And so he basically just goes, and the knife just goes, and the guy just goes, poof, and just drops.
Oh, that's cool.
Drops.
That's cool. Catapult is a fun spell to just add some flavor to.
Such a cool spell.
Yes.
So we drop the Executioner. Executioner's gone. That gives him the window that he needs to leap off of the stage onto the wall with her. He salutes to everyone and individually looks at all of us in the crowd and nods to each of us as if he either recognizes us or just recognized that we helped.
Okay.
And salutes and drops off of the wall and disappears.
Oh yeah, this is amazing. Zorro.
So from there, a riot straight breaks out because, a bunch of the people that were there were like nobles, and the nobles hate Blackjack because Blackjack's for the little man.
Oh yeah.
And so the nobles don't like Blackjack. So they start rioting because they're like, that girl needs to die. Go get him. But there's a bunch of other people there that are like, no. Maybe he's right. If Blackjack, this guy that loves the city, thinks the queen's not right, maybe the queen does need to go down. So they start rioting. All of the guards start stepping in to try and separate the riot. They're all fighting with each other. The queen leaves with her personal guard, who is in this crazy new armor that we're now seeing. Her personal guard is wearing this like full plate with a face helmet that like is like no features on the face, with this big red plume going down the back.
Is this some of the artwork I've seen? I'll probably put them up. Some really cool artwork, like the Grey Guard or something.
Yeah. Grey Maidens. Super cool. I love that art. This is the first time we see her in this armor, and she kind of escorts the queen out while all this is happening. We kind of go into gear and we're like, okay, nobody really noticed us help him, so let's get this riot died down. So we start trying to do our best to help break up the riots. Okay. The way Cal does that is he sets fire to the stage with firebolt and uses what's the cantrip that control flames to make it spread really fast, so that it, because nothing breaks up a fight like fire.
Just some good smoke.
Yeah, just a straight up blaze happening to break up the masses. So he does that, and Dip's like, okay, yeah, I mean that breaks a bunch of people up. They start getting away from the fire. After that, we all leave the courtyard. Tombstone threw a smoke bomb on the stage after Blackjack ran, which was another thing that helped.
Just a Batman moment.
Yeah, so after this, we all meet up. We all leave the courtyard. We all meet up, and we're like, "Wow, that was crazy. What are we gonna do? Like, are we gonna run after them, try and help them? Are we gonna lay low for a little while? Like, what do we need to do?" And basically, we decide that there's gonna be hundreds of people chasing them. We need to let them get away. There's nothing we can do to help now. We all need to go lay low. I'm sure Cressida will get in contact with us, and we'll figure something out. So we all head back to the siblings' apartment. We all hang out there for a little while, and Cal talks about what happened, and he was like, well, honestly, I am glad an excuse came and we were able to do something. That was really nice. And Alora goes, I'm really glad an excuse came too, because if it didn't, I was just going to do something. And Cal looks at her like,
oh yeah.
Huh. And so later on that evening, Cal goes up to her and he's like, hey, and he just like sits with her and he's like, hey, I think we need to talk about stuff because, I remember saying that we're not going to do anything unless an opportunity presents itself, and you agreed, right? But it kind of sounded like just now you were actually going to do something, so did you lie?
Yeah, a little. Little
and
tricks.
she was basically like, I've been where she is, where everyone is just down on you and you don't deserve it. And I can't stand by and let that happen to another person. And she's like, maybe I would have done it, maybe I wouldn't have done it, but I don't think you understand how hard it was for me to stand there and watch this happen.
Interesting.
And he was like, I mean, I guess not, but also, if that was the case, you shouldn't have agreed. You should have let us know, and we would have figured something out. Like, I'm glad she's free and that it worked out. Don't get me wrong. I didn't want her to die there.
Mm-hmm.
But I also knew that if we tried to do something, it probably would have caused a lot more problems than whatever just happened.
Yeah.
And so they kind of agreed and disagreed at the same time. Some really cool character moments there.
Yeah,
but
cool role play.
We rested there with all of this crazy stuff happening, and that whole scene was the end of book one. In this series of adventure. So.
Oh man, the plot is thickening. We have a Zorro. That's Zorro Batman. So Sarah actually just introduced me to the 1998 Zorro with Anthony Hopkins.
Antonio Banderas. Oh
yeah, and Anthony Hopkins is the previous Zorro, or the mentor, and but so that's fresh in my mind. It's really funny that you bring that up because that the way he just just falls off the building. Yeah, all very
it's
very
literally
much
like Zorro plus Batman plus Dread Pirate Roberts, all mixed into one. It's really good.
That's so good. Oh man. Well, I'm excited. I'm excited to see where this is going to go into book 2. Some fun character dynamics. You all are, you guys aren't a coherent group yet, which is kind of cool. It seems like you guys need to get on the same page a couple times, and then even with Tombstone kind of wavering.
Yeah. Something we're all noticing is, it's not necessarily that our alignments are very different. It's not like one of us is super lawful good and one of us is chaotic neutral. We're all pretty chaotic and we're all pretty neutral or good, but our motivations are vastly different. All of our motivations are wildly different. So that's something that's very, very interesting is what I want is hugely different than what you want. The end goal may be the same, but why we're doing it and what we actually want out of that situation is very different.
So I like it.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Kurtis, for telling me that story. Thank you so much for watching. For a little bit of a tease for next time on the Backyard Tabletop, I believe we will be getting into the Heralds of Summer Return, which is a rebel group that is in White Throne, and then possibly a dragon fight. So that'll be probably next time. The Resistance.
Yeah.
Somehow Rey Palpatine returned.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Yeah. At that note,
I have been Jacob, one of the hosts here on Backyard Tabletop.
And I've been Kurtis, the other host here on Backyard Tabletop.
Thank you so much for watching. We will see you all next time. Or you will see us, I guess.
Yeah, we don't really see you.
Yeah.
Bye.